The wind drifted lazily across the Harding ranch, carrying with it the smell of dry grass and loneliness. Ellie Harding stood near the barn, fingers curled around the worn strap of her satchel. It had been 3 long months since their mother passed, and every corner of the ranch still held the echo of her voice. Now everything felt too big, too quiet, too heavy for a girl of 19 to shoulder alone. Her younger brother Cal pressed close to her side. He tried to be brave the way boys do, jaw set and chin lifted, but Ellie felt the tremor in his hand. For weeks, she'd been trying to pretend everything was under control, but the truth was painted across the ranch like dust on old boards. They were running out of supplies. Cal's cough was getting worse, and she didn't know how to fix any of it. The sound of hooves cracked through the silence. Turning, Ellie saw Luke Maddox riding toward them, the afternoon sun outlining his broad frame in gold. Luke wasn't family by blood, but he had been the one constant in their lives since their mother's death. He'd helped with chores their father should have done, brought food when he knew she'd forgotten to eat, checked on Cal when his cough kept him up at night. Ellie had always thought of him as a quiet guardian, a man who kept his own wounds hidden behind steady eyes. When he stopped in front of them, his horse snorting softly, Ellie gathered her courage. "Can you take us to town?" she asked. The question felt like admitting defeat, like peeling back a layer she'd been trying to protect, but she had no choice. They needed help. Luke studied her more deeply than she expected. His hat cast a shadow over his eyes, but she felt his concern like a hand on her shoulder. After a long moment, he nodded. "Only if you promise to come back home." His voice carried something unspoken. Fear for them, a plea, a tether he hoped she wouldn't cut. Ellie hesitated, not because she didn't want to return, but because she wasn't sure the ranch still felt like home. It was a place filled with ghosts and unfinished chores, with memories sharp enough to cut. But when she looked at Cal, pale and tired, and then at Luke, steady as an oak in a storm, she felt something anchor inside her. "I promise," she whispered. Luke helped them mount up, and together they rode toward the road leading to town, the fading sun stretching their shadows long across the dust. Ahead lay uncertainty, but for the first time in weeks, Ellie felt a small, fragile thread of hope tugging her forward. Town greeted them with the kind of noise that made Ellie's nerves buzz. Wagons rattled over uneven boards, horses snorted, vendors shouted prices as if competing with the wind itself. Cal stuck close to her, wide-eyed at everything he saw, while Luke walked beside them with the steady confidence of a man who knew every street and every face. To Ellie, who'd rarely left the ranch, it felt like stepping into another world, one too fast, too loud, too full of strangers who could read the worry written on her face. Their first stop was the supply store. Ellie tried to focus on the shelves, flour, beans, canned peaches, but her mind drifted to the ranch, to the things she'd left undone, to the silent fear that maybe she was failing Cal. Luke handled most of the talking, ordering medicines and provisions, slipping a few extra items into the pile when he thought Ellie wasn't looking. She noticed anyway. Somehow, it made her chest ache more than the struggle she'd been hiding. From there, Luke took them to the doctor. Cal's cough had worsened during the ride, and Ellie kept smoothing his hair, wishing she had something more than her worry to offer him. The doctor examined the boy kindly, assuring Ellie that it wasn't anything serious, just exhaustion and cold nights. Medicine would help, but rest would be the real cure. Ellie nodded, her throat tight with relief, while Luke paid the fee without hesitation. But things changed the moment they stepped outside. 2 men leaned against the side of the building, their eyes tracking Ellie and Cal like wolves sizing up a meal. Ellie felt the pull of their attention immediately. When Luke stepped away to settle payment with the pharmacist, the men crossed the street and approached her. "You Harding kids, ain't you?" one said, voice slow and oily. Ellie stiffened. "Why do you care?" The man smirked, showing a chip in his front tooth. "Your daddy owed money, lots of it. Folks get nervous when debts go unpaid." Cal shrank behind Ellie. Her heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear her own breath. Before she could answer, Luke's boots struck the wooden walkway behind them like a warning shot. "Is there a problem?" His voice was calm, but there was a dangerous edge beneath it. The men backed off instantly, muttering excuses before hurrying down the alley. Ellie let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Luke turned to her, eyes softening as he saw the fear she'd tried to hide. "This is why I needed your promise," he said quietly. "You kids aren't safe wandering on your own." Ellie swallowed hard and nodded. For the first time in a long while, she understood. Some people protect you because they want something. Luke protected her because he cared. The ride back toward the ranch carried an uneasy quiet, broken only by the rhythmic clop of hooves and Cal's soft breathing as he leaned tiredly against Luke. The sun was slipping behind the hills, painting the sky in streaks of orange and red, but Ellie felt no comfort in its beauty. Her mind replayed the encounter in town over and over. The men's cold eyes, their mention of her father's debts, the way Cal had shrunk behind her. She tried to swallow her fear, but it clung to her like dust that refused to shake loose. Luke rode ahead a few paces, glancing back at them now and then, checking on Cal's condition and checking, she suspected, on her. Ellie appreciated it in a quiet, aching way she couldn't explain. She wanted to thank him but didn't know how to put the words together without her voice breaking. Instead, she focused on the horizon, on the familiar line of hills that usually meant safety. But today, something was different. A thin column of smoke curled into the sky, rising from the direction of the ranch. Ellie's heart jolted. "Luke," she whispered, pointing with a trembling hand. Luke didn't answer. He didn't need to. With a sharp kick, he sent his horse charging forward, and Ellie followed, urging her mount to move faster, despite the panic stealing her breath. When they reached the ranch, her worst fears became real. A corner of the barn smoldered, flames licking at the charred boards, and in front of it, half hidden by smoke and dust, were the same men from town, stuffing tools and gear into sacks. They froze when they saw Luke's silhouette breaking through the haze. "Get behind me!" Luke shouted to Ellie and Cal as he leapt off his horse. The men bolted, scattering like startled coyotes. One ran for the hills, while the other made a desperate attempt to reach the road. Luke lunged after the closer one, tackling him to the ground with a force that shook the dirt loose. Ellie watched, breathless, as he pinned the man down. "You stay away from these kids," Luke growled, voice raw with fury and something deeper, fear for them. By the time the sheriff arrived to take the intruder away, the fire was nearly out, and the ranch was quiet again. Too quiet. Ellie stood before the damaged barn, eyes burning from smoke and tears she didn't realize had escaped. "Luke, I don't know if we can go back to the way things were," she said softly. Afraid of her own admission, Luke stepped closer, his shirt torn, face streaked with soot. He looked at her with a gentleness that contrasted the strength she'd just seen. "Ellie," he said, voice low, "I didn't ask you to go back to the past. I asked you to come back home." The word settled in her chest like a warm ember. Cal slipped his small hand into hers. "We belong here," he whispered. Ellie looked at Luke, at the ranch, at the fading smoke against the twilight sky, and for the first time since everything fell apart, she believed it.